Chris Buck. So, Michigan legalized medical marijuana back in 2008, but in December of 2019, recreational adult use was also legalized, along with a massive revamp of how cannabis is to be grown, tested, transported, and sold. Sarah Birney and Bryan Madle, the co-founders of Blooming Botanicals, are here to share their entrepreneurial story in this progressive industry. Welcome, Sarah and Bryan.
Thanks for having us.
So Blooming Botanicals began in the CBD space back prior to recreational use for THC. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. In fact, in 2018, there was a new implementation of the Farm Bill that legalized the hemp production nationwide. So that's when we were able to fully jump in with Blooming Botanicals, launched it right after that. Got it.
And for those who are not familiar with this space at all, talk about the difference between hemp and CBD and THC and kind of what are the swim lanes and kind of how does that go?
Yeah, so I'd say the starkest difference is from a kind of a mental component. It's not a psychoactive product. So CBD, yeah. Right. So when we're looking at CBD, we're thinking more of like the holistic kind of medical component of trying to heal things without having the psychoactive side to it, where THC can very much be medicinal on many, many levels, but there is going to be that psychoactive component as well as kind of the recreational side to it as well.
And what made you decide to go into this industry? I in prep for the show, I've cruised your website and looked at a couple of things. There was a great story about your dog.
Yeah, definitely. So we come from the health space in every way, really, and we also appreciate plant medicine, appreciate even the THC side of things, but we really wanted to bring something about health. So the story about the dog is our dog tore his ACL, couldn't run. We were told he'll never be able to run again. Months and months go by, and we get him CBD, and within 2 weeks, he's like acting like a puppy again.
That's unbelievable.
I know. You see something like that, and you're like, okay, sign me up and sign up everyone I know.
Right. And how long ago was that?
So that was 5 years ago.
Yep. That was well before we started this. And the thing with pets, too, is there's no placebo, especially from the outside looking in. So when you see those stark differences, you're definitely ready. And it's funny, we see a lot of people start with their pets and then get the whole family on it because people often take care of their pets better than themselves.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, I need some of that.
So that was truly an aha moment as you're trying to pull your hair out to try to take care of this pet that you love.
Oh, yeah.
You're trying all these different normal things, right? And then someone recommends you give this a whirl and it works.
Yeah, definitely. My mom had the same story with her dog as well. I mean, it just happens that way for people, but she had, a tumor, almost got put down, and 2 years later, she was doing fine because she got put on a CBD regimen.
So when did you start Blooming Botanicals?
We're actually coming up on our 3-year anniversary, first week of August. Again, Sarah and I actually had kind of been in the space back in 2008. We started with as caregivers with the cannabis side of things. And then we did some beta testing and some consulting in the hemp space. But right after that Farm Bill was passed, that was when we had done our first launch. So 2018, 2019.
So it must have been an amazing process to figure out what do you sell, how do you get it produced, how do you build a brand, what are your labels like, how do you price it, who manufactures it, how do you distribute it, all that kind of stuff. Must have been a heck of a learning experience. Can you share a little bit about how long it took from you to go from a business plan to having stuff on the shelves?
Definitely. I'd say our beta test was about 6 months. And so our biggest thing was getting the flavor down. I mean, we've tried a lot of CBD on the market, and you have to take it every day. So it needs to be delicious, and many are not.
Oh, so it's like a cumulative effect. You can't just take it and feel the effects of it. You kind of do it over time and it kind of builds up in your body.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. I mean, everyone is different. So some people are like, I took it and my anxiety went away immediately, but you just get, it's better to do it every single day. So you want it to be delicious. That took about 6 months of, using all of our friends and family as guinea pigs. But we already had studied business. So we lived in Costa Rica and we were studying nutrition, but along with that came the business side of things. So we had been studying business. We had a superfood company, so we had dabbled in that a little bit. But really it was that 6, 7, 8 months to get from nothing to Blooming Botanicals being launched.
Right on. And Costa Rica is very prominent on your branding and your website and all of that. Tell me about how you got involved with Costa Rica and what kind of role did that experience play in your business planning and your modeling, and then you can even spill over into the philanthropy stuff with the Plant a Tree and some of those other things. Talk about Costa Rica.
Yeah, so Sarah and I were always adventurous, world traveler, backpacker type folks, even when we were young. So When we were in college, Sarah actually had her first yoga teacher training was down in Costa Rica, and I piggybacked along, and we made a nice backpacking trip out of it. And we kind of just said, this is a place we'd like to keep coming. So we did about a month a year for a very long time until kind of around 2015-ish. We decided to live there full time while we, could in our minds. So we spent a year and a half down there, and we were, studying business, superfoods, herbs, all those things, and really just fell in love with it and kind of saw a side of life and holistic health that really resonated with us. So we wanted to really keep that a big staple. And obviously from an environmental standpoint, very environmental focused country. The biodiversity, the Plant a Tree campaign is actually through community carbon trees, which we've actually had a chance to work with hands-on down there and get our hands dirty. So we fell in love with them before we even thought we'd have a business and incorporate them. But you also, just kind of by nature of being near the equator, you get the best return on planting trees down there for carbon absorption, biodiversity. So it's kind of like the everyman global campaign that fits everyone, where we sometimes do other niche campaigns as well, but that one resonated with us very well.
Got it. And so part of your proceeds goes to that organization to plant more trees, right?
Yep.
Fantastic. Congratulations. So is Blooming Botanicals strictly an online organization, or do you have a brick and mortar or storefront, or how can people find your products?
Yeah, we are primarily online, but we sell wholesale around the state of Michigan and in a few other states. Mostly we're in provisioning centers because we also do have a THC line, and that has to be sold through provisioning centers. So we're in about 50 stores throughout the state. And so if you call and you want to go in, I'm going to send you to one of those stores.
Right.
We're primarily online, but we ship and, it arrives in 2 to 3 days. So pretty easy. Right
on. So may as well cut to the chase. What is the website? Where can people learn more about how they can order it? And is there a list of places they can find it on the shelf?
Yep. We have a map right on the website, and it's bloomingbotanicalshemp.com.
Fantastic. Okay. So there are other causes that you love to support. I saw the Trevor Project, Last Prisoner Project, and Backline. Talk a little bit about what those are and why you decided to partner with them.
Yeah, so I would say, what we've kind of looked for in our background and what we wanted to support, is, especially coincides with CBD, is the sustainability side and then the mental health side. Especially the last 2 years, the mental health conversation has really grown and developed in a way that I think has been really healthy. So Backline is a nonprofit that works in the music industry for mental health for musicians. And especially through COVID, when that industry was stifled, there was a lot of support for that. The Trevor Project does mental health for the LGBTQ youth community. And then Last Prisoner Project is more of a cannabis justice reform organization. And even when we started, before we had our THC line, we still see CBD and hemp. It was all part of the same kind of prohibition for many years in America. So we didn't want to take that for granted, even living outside of the THC space, but obviously did get back into that. So really kind of cannabis justice reform, sustainability, and mental health are kind of our 3 pillars to get back to.
Got it. Okay. And now husband and wife team, right? Hopefully that's not a secret, right? 2 different last names, but I think that's a big deal, right? So you're entrepreneurs, husband and wife, kind of fast growing and like I said, just kind of a progressive industry. How has it been developing this and managing this whole process as a married couple?
Yeah, I think it's been amazing. We spend 24 hours a day together and, we always have. So when the pandemic hit, you heard a lot of people like, oh my gosh, I haven't been with my partner in this long. And we're just like continuing on like we always did. And, you ride the highs together, you ride the lows together. So it can be tricky at times, but I've loved it.
Yeah, I would say it's obviously a blessing for us. And I think that it's been really cool to see both of us develop as well. And kind of, when we started, we both did every single component together, and now we've kind of branched off and found some of our specialty, and we realize we do sometimes have to divide and conquer, but we've also started to hire and build a little team, and just kind of having each other's back is something I can't really imagine working without, for sure.
So as recreational adult use happened, right? From a general public standpoint, it seems like the industry just kind of exploded, right? Because and maybe I'm being really naive, but it seems like that's kind of where the money is and where that's, the pent up demand. It's clearly been a black market, industry for probably decades, if not centuries. And now all of a sudden it's legal. So there is a money making opportunistic, world out there to be had. And it seems like a lot of brands just kind of dropped out of the sky or maybe even moved here from other states. Did did that crowd you out at all, or did that help you be able to funnel your existing products through a different channel? You know, the big business, small entrepreneurs like yourselves, how did that feel, and how have you navigated that?
Yeah, I'd say, you know, we've always kind of prided ourselves on being a very small business. Sarah and I even ran the company, just the two of us, for the first couple of years. So we never said we had to be by far the biggest company, and kind of always thought that, you know, having niche products would be the diversification we needed. So really our CBD line, especially how we incorporated the herbal infusions, we really separated ourselves and kind of stayed in that lane for a long time. And then bringing the THC back in, just something that we had done for so long, felt pretty natural. Whereas, you know, there is a lot of competition. There's kind of a lot of saturation. What's very different with, you know, a Michigan THC market is it's all based on licensing, based on municipalities, and you're going to have a very capitalistic kind of approach to a brand new industry, because it's going to kind of have a boom and then see who's still around. And there's a lot to navigate, but I think that we kind of have our roots with the nationwide CBD and having something that we're passionate about. So we just kind of wanted to stay in our lane and incorporate a health-minded and, you know, grow sustainably is really what we'd like to do. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Grow naturally. Right.
And I think everyone's wise enough to know that there is a faction of our community that believes that all of this is somewhat evil, you know, and because of that, they resist education and decide that they don't want to learn more about it because it's already got that label. And that's, you know, people certainly get to decide whether they want to, you know, take part in any of this or not. But I wanted to bring you on because you're almost the antithesis of what those people would think. I mean, you are steeped in health, and it started there, right? I mean, you talked about yoga, but Sarah in particular, and not to downplay you, Bryan, but right, I mean, you teach classes, and so talk about the other things that you do that are outside of the cannabis influenced industry.
Definitely. I mean, just everything we've done, and he has been on the road with me doing all of this as well. But, you know, we studied nutrition, both of us, yoga, massage, anything to do with, like, you know, how the body works and how to help people. And I'm not going to say CBD is for everyone, but it can help a lot of people. And I just dove deep into the science of it. So, you know, to have a conversation, especially with someone who quote unquote doesn't believe, is pretty cool. It's pretty cool to talk about this is actually how it works in the body. And, you know, you see a light bulb go off. And I think CBD has helped the whole space change a lot because, you know, it being saturated, a lot of people ask us, like, is that hard for you? And really, everyone knows what CBD is now, and they're kind of accustomed to it, but they want to know where quality. They want to know how it works, quality, what sets you apart, what makes you different. So we really get to dive into the health side of it. And it doesn't have to be like a convincing of you need CBD, but maybe why the CBD will be better absorbed in your body, you know, and we have that background to kind of speak to those pieces of it instead.
Can CBD be sold anywhere because it doesn't have the cyclotropic or whatever the THC in it?
Yep, as long as you're following, you know, the Farm Bill rules, it has to be under 0.3% THC, then yeah, it's a federally legal product.
So you'll see it in gift shops and, you know, okay.
Yeah.
And so how is, just for the people who don't know, and I'm actually one of them, what are the different ways that you can take it? I mean, is it like a multivitamin where you take a little bit every day, or is it a pill? Is it a powder? Is it a liquid? Do you put it in food or a drink, or how does that, what is it? What is the medium?
Definitely. All of the above.
Is that right? Okay.
Well, depending on the brand, you know, but there's a lot of products out there that have, I mean, there's candles that have CBD. I'm not sure. I believe that's a great idea. But so in our business, we have topicals. So if you have any like acute pain, muscle pain, a lot of athletes will use that as well, or anyone with arthritis. We have tinctures. So tinctures can be put in recipes. We have recipes all over our blog. They can be taken just directly as well. And that's what the majority of people do. So once or twice a day, I just do it right after I brush my teeth underneath the tongue. It's delicious and you're good to go. It doesn't have to be a very hard thing.
Right. Okay. And so doing that daily, generally, what are you trying to cure or solve? Is it kind of like a multivitamin where like the body kind of needs it and I feel better for doing it, so I just kind of do it? Or are you trying to, I mean, you don't need to get personal with what you're trying to fix in yourself, but you know, what's the spirit behind that?
Yeah, I'd say the most people come to us for pain, anxiety, or sleep. That's what we found. And then we've been dabbling in, you know, the gut health region because a lot of people have digestive issues. So we say it's the absence of the thing that's bothering you, because people say, I took it and I didn't feel anything. You don't feel something, but if you get chronic migraines, you might notice you have less. Or a lot of people, we have a turmeric product, so arthritis, and they're like, I can open a jar again, and they don't realize that. But if you stop taking it for a few days, those pains might creep back in.
That's great. So what's the future of your company? Where is this going next? Are you hitting another gear, or is Steady Eddie just try to grow the volume, or new products? What happens next?
Yeah, we're excited. We're working on developing some new products, bringing back some oldies as well. So there's definitely going to be some of those coming out. We are kind of looking at doing some other types of markets, where we have worked very much in the Michigan provisioning centers. We'd like to get back into kind of like the health food stores, the chiropractors, some of the markets we had when we kind of started and COVID took them away, the in-person type retailers where initially provisioning centers were deemed essential. So that was big for that industry. And really, I think gave a lot of credit to the industry as well as some of the lawmakers in that time, because it went from prohibition to something that even in a pandemic we deemed essential. So that was great to see, but I think we'd like to expand into other markets as well.
That's fantastic. Well, it's been a real pleasure meeting with you here today. So bloomingbotanicalshemp.com is where you can learn more. And we've been talking to the co-founders of Blooming Botanicals. We've got Sarah Birney and Bryan Madle. Thanks so much for joining me here today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.